Good evening and welcome to my short video series on network connectivity issues, how to identify these problems and determine your path to resolution. Throughout this video series, which a number of that is actually going to be covered in this first video, throughout this video series we're going to be discussing ways to determine exactly what the problem is, so you know why you're not able to connect to the internet or connect your devices, as well as understanding what your options are. Now, a lot of you guys, as I'm going to be marketing this more towards Comcast customers anyway, as that is where my experience lies, but a lot of you guys may be able to take advantage of this information regardless of who your ISP is. And that's because they are very similarly run. They use a lot of the same systems and tools and a lot of the same tech speak when you call in. A lot of them are going to ask you, especially the tier 1 techs, they're going to ask you pretty much the same information regardless of which ISP you're with. Especially if you're with a cable ISP provider, once again, like Comcast. So that would, in the United States, more likely be, Comcast, Coax, Time Warner. Those would be your top, I guess, as far as the cable companies are concerned. Moving forward with that, I think it's important that people understand that the ISP is not always at fault. I know we want to flip out and throw our modem out of the window sometimes, but hopefully maybe I can shed some light on some of these issues for you guys here throughout this video series. Now, moving on with things, the first thing I'd like to talk to you guys about is the network topology. Which, if you're not familiar with the term topology, think of it like a layout or a map of your network. That includes everything from your cable layouts, your hardware, to the devices that you use to connect to your network. So think of it, the cable that comes into your home from the drop, think of it as everything from that outlet all the way on down to your smartphone. Everything that makes up your home network. Think of that as your network topology. It's very important that you understand how this works, at least to some degree. It's very important that you understand where the potential problems could occur, where the most common problems are. I know a lot of times you call in, they say, have you restarted your modem today? That's one of the most common things. Or I'm going to go ahead and send a reset signal. And that's because that is a common fix. A lot of people don't understand how easy it is for some of today's technology to have a hiccup, and for no other reason than it's been on too long. It just needs to be restarted. So that being said, if you look at your modem, or again, I'm gearing this more towards Comcast. I apologize if the hardware is a little bit different for Cox, Time Warner, or any other ISP out there. If you're with Comcast, whether you rent a device from them or not, it doesn't matter whether you own your device or rent from them, I can tell you that you will receive a much lower level of technical support from Comcast if you actually own your own hardware. You'll save on their monthly service fees, but you won't get as much support from them, which sometimes the support that they can provide is actually worth it, because now you're going to have to go out there and either learn how to do this stuff on your own, or they're going to want you to pay or send you to a third-party company that's going to want you to pay out your backside to fix the problem simply because you own the device. So if you're not so technical a user, you may actually just want to pay the $7, $8, or $9, depending on where you are, per month to lease the device. But moving forward, you either have a modem or a wireless gateway. Now, a lot of you guys are just going to think that's my router, or that's my modem. It's very important that you understand the very first device that is plugged in. In fact, and we're not talking cable boxes here, guys. So if you have double plays and triple plays, that, again, that doesn't matter. I'm trying to gear these videos towards people that may or may not be tech savvy here too. So understand that I may use some imagery in my descriptions of how these things look. But a lot of times, if you have a modem from Comcast, it doesn't matter whether it's standing up or laying on its side. They make all different types of modems. They come in all different types of shapes and sizes and colors. A lot of them are black, blue, gray. It really doesn't matter what the colors are. What's important is that we understand the functionality of the modem. we need to know exactly what type of device you have. Now they're phasing out a lot of the DOCSIS 2 devices and moving on to DOCSIS 3. It just gives you more bonded channels, which is it's just in turn going to increase your throughput and give you higher speeds. So if you got a notice from Comcast saying you need to upgrade, you might want to do that. They're not just trying to hound you or waste your time. DOCSIS 3 on most connections will provide a faster speeds, especially if you're on like the 50 and up. If you're still doing like 25 and 5 in some markets, you'll be fine on DOCSIS 2. But they are kind of ceasing support for those, so you're not going to be picking up a new DOCSIS 2 modem if you have to exchange it with Comcast because yours breaks or the dog chews the cord, which you will get as a DOCSIS 3 device. So a lot of the devices that Comcast are pushing out are known as wireless gateways, and that's one of the two devices that you'll get. They have the wireless gateway or MTA, depending on whether or not you have the phone service. And then they have the modems. Now the DOCSIS 3 standalone modem, in 90% of the cases, is just going to be a smaller device. It's going to look like maybe 3 smartphones laid side by side and then 3 times as thick. It looks maybe like a Roku player, or it's generally a little bit smaller. It's about the size of maybe a dessert dinner plate. Think of it like that. Now the larger devices, they're going to be a little bit more shiny in appearance. Generally they have a glossier appearance to them. If you shine a light on them, it should reflect a little bit more. A lot of their modems are dull in appearance, dull in color. It's a different plastic. They're going for a more sleek, modern look with their all-in-one devices. So if you look at your device, we want to determine exactly what type of device you have here. To determine exactly what your network topology looks like. Looking at the device, if it is a black device that stands maybe, I haven't had one of these in years, but maybe like 8 inches off of the desk, and it has white lights down the front, that is the all-in-one device. That is the wireless gateway. That has the modem and the wireless router built into it. Now there are different manufacturers of these devices. Technicolor is one of them. I personally do not recommend the Technicolor TC8350C. It's very problematic. Bridge mode doesn't really work with it too well, which means that if you wanted to use your own third-party wireless router with it, good luck with that. It's not going to work. Also, for you guys that are professionals out there that do maybe some telecommuting part of the week and then you're in the office the rest, maybe use a VPN while you're at home, you're not going to be able to use a VPN with the TC8305C. It's not going to work properly. Now, you can find the make and model on the bottom of the device or on the back of the device. Generally speaking, if you're looking for your wireless key, your wireless network key and the network name, the SSID, generally speaking with Comcast anyway, it's going to look like HOME dash and then 4 letters and or numbers. That's going to be on the bottom of the device. But the make and model, sometimes you'll find on the back or the bottom. The other one that's very common is the ARRIS, ARRIS, and that is the TG862G. Now they do have another model, ARRIS as well, that's out there. They're all quite similar though. But the TG862G is probably, in my opinion, I would recommend that or the Cisco. I don't have the Cisco model memorized, but Cisco does make one as well. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it starts with a C. Let me look that up for you guys. It's, I'm sorry, it starts with a D actually, I believe. I think it's the DP something, DPC 3939 maybe. Don't quote me on that one, guys, please. But those are your 3 most common wireless gateways. If you don't see this, if you don't see the 6 to 8 inch tall tower with the white lights down the front, it's very important. They're all the same size. They're about equidistant from one another. Doesn't matter whether they're on, blinking, off. We're not focusing on that right now. If you don't see that, if you see something that maybe has blue and green lights, we could be looking at your router or that could be your modem. So it's very important that you know the difference. Now, keep in mind that one of the best ways to describe a wireless gateway is a modem that's inside the housing of a wireless router. So if you're familiar with the functionality of a wireless router, typically your wireless routers have the 4 LAN ports on the back, which are meant for the Cat5 cables, and then you have the internet port on the bottom there. It's usually a slightly different color. It'll be blue or red or yellow or something like that, while the others will be blue or white. And that way you can differentiate between the internet in and the internet out ports. And you only have one internet in. So in this particular case, on the back of this device, this is another hint for you guys, on the back of this device, if it's a wireless gateway or a wireless router in this particular case too, you're going to see a lot more ports than if you're looking at the back of just simply a modem, a cable modem. So if all you see coming out of the back of your device is a power plug, a cable wire, and you see an internet cable coming out, a Cat5 cable plugged in there, the Ethernet, then you know that you have a modem. So, hopefully at this point we can determine exactly what type of piece of hardware you have. Now we also want to make sure that once we've done that we follow some of these cables. It's very important that we follow the cable wiring itself, the coax cable, straight to the wall. If we are having a connection issue, we want to make sure that that coax cable is plugged in securely to the wall. If it's not plugged in directly to the wall, obviously we're not going to get internet from Comcast. If the house is live, all of this entire video series is assuming that the house is actually live. If you just moved and your internet's not working, you may actually have somebody that's required to come out and connect you at the tap. And that's unfortunately something that you won't be able to do yourself. So moving forward, check your coax cable. A lot of times, if they're really wound up, I know these things can take a beating, but if it wasn't put on all the way, all it takes is a couple of rotations for that thing to come off, especially if it's really wound up. You want to make sure that it's the right length of cord. You don't want to have 30 feet hanging out just in the middle of the room. Obviously, you might want to have somebody come out from Comcast and redo that if you have too much excess cable or not enough, obviously. So once you have the coax in, you want to make sure that the power cable is in as well. A lot of these devices today come with the little power brick, or I'm not really sure what. It's not the typical plug. It's got some weight and some girth to it. You want to make sure that if your wall outlet, if it's a hanging wall outlet and not something like a power strip on the floor, gravity can take its toll on that as well. That'll actually make it come out of the outlet. That's no good. So you want to make sure that your outlet is snug. If it's not holding the power adapter in the outlet, if it even slips out slightly, as a matter of fact, and your modem and or router or your wireless gateway go offline, you will lose connectivity. Now looking at the front of your device, if you want to confirm that the power is on, you want to make sure that the lights are indeed on. Do keep in mind though that the lights being on and or off, it's not always the end all be all. A lot of times these lights will fail long before the device itself fails. 6 months into a modem's life, those lights can die. The modem might last another 10 years. So you really can't go too much by that. But if you do see lights, it's plugged in at the very least. Now moving on from there, the device that we already determined we have here, whether you have a modem, or a modem, maybe you have one desktop and that's it. You don't even use wireless internet. That's fine. But if you have a router, you want to make sure that your router is plugged into the back of your modem, which is your internet port or your LAN port on the back. Make sure that the one port that you have on the back of your router, it's usually on the very top or very bottom, and it's also usually a different color. I know a lot of the Netgear ones, I believe, are yellow, if I'm not mistaken. And you want to make sure that they're connected that way. Or if you have a wireless gateway and you have something connected via Ethernet, you want to make sure that that's also plugged in. If everything is connected properly and plugged in and we're still not getting internet access, it's very important that we begin to look at the devices itself. If you have one device, this is kind of our next little topic here. If you have one device that isn't working and everything else is, obviously we want to troubleshoot that device. Comcast may have some tips for you, but they're not going to be able to tell you exactly what's wrong with your iPad if your iPad's the only device that isn't working. So do make sure before you go ahead and call your ISP that you've gone through your network topology and determined exactly how your network is connected and what device is or is not working. If none of your devices are working, whether it's wired or wireless, that indicates a possible network problem. If only one of your devices isn't working, that indicates a possible device problem. Do make sure that you take that into account before making the decision to call your ISP. So that's how we kind of determine where the problem may lie. And then what we'll do is determine whether or not we need to call our ISP, do it ourselves, or maybe call a repair technician if it's a specific device. So in this particular case, let's go ahead and assume that I'm on my desktop here. And you didn't see me do this because I just kind of want to... There we go. So we'll say that in this particular case, I'll slap a Chrome window over here, and I've disabled my connection, but we'll pretend I don't know that. So I try to go to google.com. I wanted to search for funny cat videos, and I'm unable to connect to the internet. Now I can sit here all day and try and troubleshoot the problem with Windows. I can call Comcast. Now, Comcast is going to pass you off to a Tier 2 agent. That's a third-party representative that works with Comcast under the Comcast name. I'm not going to go into too much details about that. But, and they'll end up fixing this for you. But if you don't rent a device from Comcast, they're going to pass you off to another third-party company, well, technically the same third-party company, where they'll only help you for a nominal fee. Now, my question to you guys is, would you rather learn how to fix this on your own or pay somebody to fix this? Because you saw how easy that was to break. Guess what? It's just as easy to fix it. And that's actually something that commonly happens. Now, your device may not disable itself, but it may be in a similar state. So I'm going to go ahead and cut things here, and we'll move on to video number 2, and I'll see you there.